women on a subconscious perspective, their tests are almost a way to chip at this man until he becomes this like ideal archetype of the perfect masculine. And whenever he falls short of that ideal archetype, it's a very subconscious process. Like she doesn't even realize she's doing it. That's when she feels that disconnect, whether he's not leading appropriately.
It's a woman's intuition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know John acts like, different sometimes with me because he feels the most safe with me too. So he'll show me his more vulnerable side. So like, I understand where it's coming from.
Do I not have a clear direction of where I'm going? But what I thought about myself is not as accurate as what I thought. Again, now I did have a lot of self-actualization, but it just uncovered another layer. And so I had to dig deeper and deeper, to something that I wouldn't have dug down this way.
To double down on that, we were talking about this the other day in a group of guys. It was like, when she brings up that you did something 12 times, don't go count in your head. Well, actually, it was 9 times. Tell her, because then and a lot of times, when a woman is emotional, she'll say things, and like your logical brain are like, that's not exactly true. And if she knew the facts of this, she wouldn't feel this way right now. So I need to correct her on the facts so that she could feel differently. Yeah. And it's like,
never works.
I get
not
it.
one time.
It would be so strange if that happened though. Just like, actually, remember last Tuesday night, that wasn't an example. So it was 9. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Instantly fixed.
That's because if I'm having a discussion with one of you guys and you say, hey, John, you did this. And I'm like, no, actually I didn't do this. You'd be like, oh, okay, bro. That's cool. Like we'd be like, yeah. So we'd figure it out. But yeah.
Right. I love like what you were saying just quickly here, Nicole, before, and obviously to you as well, John. I think like so much of the game in this day and age is like masculinity and femininity were sort of demonstrated implicitly and on very clear binary terms up until basically like the mid 20th century. Like men are this, they do that, women are this, they do that, and then it all got a little bit topsy-turvy. And now again, being in this sort of like postmodern experience, we're like, what the hell do these terms mean? What the hell's going on? And to you guys, to what you're saying there, it's like, it's integration here that was what we're really talking about. And when you can bring both masculinity and femininity into the picture, you will eventually find within your core which one is kind of like more your home, right? As far as like kind of like was taken from you guys, it's like there's this tendency that like, yeah, men need to be able to understand and have an emotional language, because otherwise they're not going to experience the joy and awe and love of a relationship and of life in general. And then women as well. We are in a fantastic situation now where women can actually find opportunities to engage in mission-oriented purposes and build their own empires and all this sort of stuff, but then still come home and feel that softness and that love that they want within a relationship. So I mean, this comes up all the time. I'm assuming it comes up for you guys a lot as well. It's like, what is a man? Like, without getting too political, what is a woman, right? But it's like, at the end of the day, like, it's integration at the end of the day.
I have this theory that women on a subconscious perspective, their tests are almost a way to chip at this man until he becomes this like ideal archetype of the perfect masculine. And whenever he falls short of that ideal archetype, it's a very subconscious process. Like she doesn't even realize she's doing it. That's when she feels that disconnect, whether he's not leading appropriately, whether he is too aggressive or too passive, whether he's just not being conscious, right? Like not being attentive with her, giving her that full undivided attention. That's when she feels that the disconnect, and that disconnect makes her feel unloved. And that's when she tests. Do you guys agree with that theory? Or do you feel like, nah, Josh, you've just met women with too many high expectations?
I agree 100%, because I truly do feel like as a man, you're not going to reach your full potential unless you have a woman in your life. Because I did a lot of personal development work myself. I read thousands of books. I thought I was at the epitome of self-development and self-actualization until I met Nicole. And then I found things that I was missing because she brought them out, because you can't hide it. You can hide it from everyone else, but Nicole knows my heart. She knows if there's something going on. She knows, and it's such a narrow path that she helps me walk down, because she senses it. She can sense if I'm being too aggressive or not aggressive enough, or wherever it is. And so I see it as extremely valuable. Sometimes it's painful to go through that process, but I'm 100% with you on that one. Like, subconsciously the woman knows what the ideal masculine archetype is, and she is guiding you towards that path. So,
and that's the one. There's a couple, but that's like people like men like Andrew Tate, right? Where it's like, oh, they're epitome of like the health, like the masculine. It's like, in a lot of ways, he has so many measures of success, physically, financially, but that lack of depth with a woman, right, is he would be challenged. And like a lot of men, they don't want that challenge. They're like, oh, and you can hear their belief systems around that. Oh, women will just give you crap, or like they're never appreciative, or all this stuff. And it's like they're so blind, they have a shadow around the feminine natural aspects of themselves. So they have no empathy for why she's actually doing that. And is one guy, I want to have him on the podcast, Tom. His name's Kevin. He's down in Austin. There's a really popular short that he has, and he's talking about how like the biggest depth of spiritual growth, more than plant medicine, is like being in a relationship with a woman as a man.
Yeah.
Biggest spiritual arena for sure. Because like I'll hear some guys. It's so funny. They're like, yeah, no, like I like who I am, but she makes me become a part of myself I don't like. Well, it's like that was already there. It's just like it's a wound that she's just touching. Right. The wound is there. Is that it doesn't get touched until you get close to her. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah. And it's funny because Nicole will say this sometimes too, because it's like, I am very stoic. I'm very non-reactive with everyone except for Nicole. Right. So now, not that I'm like super reactive with her, but she can bring it out of me. She can get a reaction out of me. No one else in the world can. I mean, someone could be yelling in my face, throwing up middle fingers in my face, and I will be cool as a cucumber. Just dealing with it and not becoming reactive and not letting it, but Nicole brings out the piece, and it's a good thing because she finds that little piece that still needs to be worked on. And then it makes me realize, oh, hey, wait a minute, John, you're not quite as stoic as what you thought you were. You still have this emotional reaction. You still have this thing. And then I have to dig deep and say, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Because I couldn't find it consciously. But
and
she
sometimes
found it.
I find it and tell you, hey, it's coming from here. And you're like, no. Yeah. And I'm like, I think so. It's a woman's intuition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know John acts like, different sometimes with me because he feels the most safe with me too. So he'll show me his more vulnerable side. So like, I understand where it's coming from. And, sometimes he's like, I'm sorry I acted that way. And it's like, it's not a big deal. I'd rather you get it out and us talk about it. And like, I know that he's doing it because he's comfortable with me, and we just get better and better with the things that we work through. So,
yeah.
John, I wonder for you as well, you mentioned before that, you were sort of at the pinnacle, you felt you were at the pinnacle of self-actualization. So, and then you met Nicole, right? I wonder if another side to that, I'd love to hear you speak to this, is like when you met Nicole and you fell in love, it sort of really centered your life and gave you a very clear path forward. So like it sort of cut out all the other bullshit of all the potentialities, right? And then you could just go, okay, now this is who I am. This is where I need to be. Is that another perspective to include here?
So it almost had the opposite effect, right?
Oh, right.
Because all of these directions that I thought I was going, I realized that those were not. So I kind of became lost for some time, right? And I'm just navigating my way out of it because I had a clear focus on what I thought was the direction, right? But then when I met Nicole and things got turned upside down, I realized that not only do I not have a clear direction of where I'm going, but what I thought about myself is not as accurate as what I thought. Again, now I did have a lot of self-actualization, but it just uncovered another layer. And so I had to dig deeper and deeper, to something that I wouldn't have dug down. But now I do feel like the direction is moving more forward. And it's more in the direction of authenticity, right? I feel like my authenticity, she's really brought that out in me. When I met Nicole, I felt like one of the things I told her immediately was, you make me better. Right. And that was such a positive attribute, is that she makes me better and want to be better. So because I think in my mind she deserves better, even better. And so I want to give her that.